You know what your problem is, Leah? You think money fixes everything and makes you important. But you're still just a useless burden who can't even keep a man. I stared at my phone, hearing my father's voice from a video my uncle had accidentally sent me. His words cut deeper than any slap. I sat in my small apartment in Portland, Oregon, surrounded by signs of my careful budgeting. Secondhand furniture, store-brand groceries, nothing fancy. For the past 4 years, I had been paying my father's mortgage every single month without missing one. My name is Leah. I'm 32 and I work as a logistics coordinator for a mid-sized shipping company. The pay is decent, though far from extraordinary. I've always been the dependable one in the family, the one who showed up when things got hard, the one who never asked for anything in return. My father raised me and my older brother Kenneth after my mother passed away when I was 7. He worked construction all his life, and when he retired 5 years ago, he had no savings to rely on. The video had arrived at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. My Uncle Gerald, my father's younger brother, meant to send it to someone else. Instead, it landed in my messages with a simple note. Thought you'd want to see this from Sunday dinner. I pressed play again, needing to be sure I'd heard right. The footage was shaky, clearly filmed on a phone during a family dinner I hadn't been invited to. My father sat at the head of the table, beer in hand, looking relaxed. My brother Kenneth was beside him, laughing. Aunt Patricia, Uncle Gerald, and a few cousins filled the other seats. Leah's been real generous with that mortgage money, Uncle Gerald said from behind the camera. You raised a good daughter, Frank, my father snorted. Generous? She owes me. I gave her a home for 18 years. This is just her paying me back. Besides, she's got nothing else going on. No husband, no kids. Might as well make herself useful as our cash cow. The table burst into laughter. Kenneth added, she's always been like that. Desperate to prove she matters. Kind of sad, really. Aunt Patricia joined in. At least she's good for something. Better than being completely useless. I stopped the video, hands trembling. My apartment suddenly felt too small, the walls closing in. For 4 years, I'd been sending my father $2,000 every month, $96,000 in total. Nearly $100,000 to a man who saw me as nothing more than an ATM. The worst part wasn't even the insults. It was how casual they were. They sat around a table, likely eating food bought with my money, laughing at how pathetic I was. And I hadn't even been invited. I didn't know these dinners were happening. Apparently, I was the topic of entertainment. I looked around my apartment, the thrift store couch, the cheap coffee table I assembled myself, the curtains I sewed from clearance fabric. All that sacrifice just to make sure my father's mortgage was paid and his house secure. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Uncle Gerald. Sorry, that wasn't meant for you. Let's just forget about it. Forget about it. As if I could erase hearing my own father call me worthless. As if I could unsee my family laughing at my expense. I sat there for a long time, staring at my father's frozen face on the paused video. A part of me wanted to call him, to yell and demand answers. But another part, the one that had learned to stay calm and cautious after years of being ignored, told me to wait. The next mortgage payment was due in 2 weeks. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the video, memorizing every word, every laugh, every smirk. By morning, I'd watched it 17 times. My relationship with my father had never been close. After my mother's death, he threw himself into work, leaving Kenneth and me mostly on our own. Kenneth, 3 years older, took on a protective role that slowly turned into something else. He became the favored one. The son who could do no wrong, while I was the child always in the way. I remembered being 10 years old, showing my father a picture I'd drawn at school. He barely glanced at it before handing it back. That's nice, Leah. Go play outside. I'm trying to watch the game, Kenneth laughed. No one cares about your silly drawings. That became the pattern. Kenneth mocked me, and my father either ignored it or joined in. When I made the honor roll in high school, my father said, "Good, at least you're not completely useless." When Kenneth barely graduated, my father threw him a party and bought him a car. I left for college on a partial scholarship, working 2 jobs to cover what it didn't. My father never offered help. You're smart, he'd said. Figure it out, so I did. I earned a degree in supply chain management and got a decent job. I moved to Portland for work, creating distance from a family that never felt like mine. Still, I called every week. I sent birthday cards. I showed up for Christmas, even when I felt invisible. 4 years ago, My father called me. Something he rarely did unless he needed something. His tone was rough, uneasy. "Leah, I need to talk to you." He explained that his retirement income wasn't enough. The mortgage was draining his funds and the bank had begun sending warnings. He might lose the house. "I can't ask Kenneth," he said. "He's got a family now. Jessica just had a baby and money's tight." Something stirred in me. Not quite hope, but close. He was asking me for help. He needed me. "How much is the mortgage?" I asked. $2,000 a month. It was a big part of my salary, but manageable. I'd need to cut back, live simply, but I could do it. "I'll help," I said. "I'll send the money every month." There was a pause. "Really? You'd do that?" "You're my father." "Of course I would." "Well, thanks, Leah. I appreciate it. That was 4 years ago." Since then, I'd sent $2,000 on the first of every month without fail. My father rarely thanked me. Sometimes a brief text. "Got it." Other times, nothing. I told myself it didn't matter. I was helping. I was being a good daughter. Maybe he'd finally see my worth. But now, sitting in my apartment with that video replaying in my mind, I saw how wrong I'd been. He didn't value me. He saw me as convenient, a steady source of cash, a burden that finally served a purpose. I opened my banking app and scrolled through my transfers, $2,000 every month, totaling $96,000. I thought about what I could have done with that money. Bought a car, moved to a better place, traveled, saved for my own home, invested in my future. Instead, I'd poured it all into a house I'd never inherit, for a man who mocked me behind my back. My phone rang. It was my father. I stared at the screen and didn't answer. He left no voicemail. 20 minutes later, Kenneth called. I ignored him too. Then came a text from my father. "Gerald told me about the video. It was just family joking around. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be so sensitive," as if the issue was my reaction, not his behavior. I thought about replying, about calling and releasing years of anger and pain, but a quiet, calculating voice in my head said, "Wait, think, plan." I opened my laptop and started gathering records. Every bank transfer, confirmation email, and message about the mortgage. I saved everything in a folder. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called the mortgage company. "Hello? I'm calling about the account for Frank Henderson," I said, using my father's name. "I'm his daughter and have been making payments on his behalf. I'd like to confirm the account status." The representative was polite. The account was current. All payments received. In fact, according to their records, the mortgage would be completely paid off in 6 months. 6 months. After 4 years of payments, my father was only half a year away from owning the house outright. And then what? Would he tell me? Or keep taking my money, pocketing it himself? I thanked the representative and hung up. My hands were steady now. The pain was still there, but beneath it was something stronger. Resolve. The next payment was due in 12 days. The following week passed in a blur. I went to work, answered emails, joined meetings, acting normal on the outside while forming a plan inside. My father called twice more. I didn't answer. Kenneth sent several texts, each more irritated than the last. "Dad says you're ignoring him." "What's your problem? You're really going to throw a fit over a joke?" "You're being childish." I ignored those too. On Thursday, my best friend Fiona called. We'd met in college and stayed close over the years. She was one of the few who truly understood my family. "You okay?" she asked. "You've been quiet." I told her about the video and played it for her. Silence followed. Then she said, voice tight with anger, "Leah, that's awful." "They're awful." "I know. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to stop paying the mortgage." "Good. You should have stopped long ago." "But I'm not just going to stop quietly," I said. "I want everyone to know exactly what's been happening." Fiona paused. "How?" I explained. The receipts, the video, the payment records. I'd send it all to every relative. They needed to see the truth. Not my father's version, but the real one. "He's going to be furious," Fiona warned. "Good." "Leah, I'm serious. He might retaliate. Your family might turn against you." "They already have," I said softly. "They've been turning on me my whole life." "I just never noticed," she sighed. "Okay, if you're sure, I'm with you. What do you need?" "Just be there when the fallout starts. I'll need someone to talk to. Always." After we hung up, I spent the evening putting everything together. I gathered every bank statement showing the transfers, downloaded all the confirmation emails, and took screenshots of my text exchanges with my father about the payments. I arranged everything in order, creating a clear timeline that showed exactly how much I had given and for how long. Then I made copies of the video my uncle had sent, saving it on multiple drives so I wouldn't risk losing it. Next, I drafted an email. It took several tries to get the tone right. I didn't want to sound upset or emotional. I wanted it to be calm, factual, and impossible to dispute. The email read, "I'm writing to share some information regarding the mortgage payments I've been making on my father's behalf for the past 4 years. I think it's important that everyone understands the full picture. Attached, you'll find documentation for every payment I've made, totaling $96,000. I've also included a video that I believe adds helpful context. I will not be making any further payments. Simple, direct, final." I made a list of recipients: Uncle Gerald, Aunt Patricia, my cousins, my father's church friends, and longtime neighbors, anyone who might have heard his side of the story or joined in the Sunday dinners where they laughed at my expense. But I didn't send it yet. The mortgage payment wasn't due until Monday. I wanted to wait until the last possible moment, until my father realized the money wasn't coming and began to worry. Then when he called demanding to know where it was, I would hit send. The weekend was agonizing. I kept checking my phone, half expecting him to somehow sense what I was planning, but there was nothing. Silence from everyone. On Sunday evening, I went for a long walk through my neighborhood. Portland was beautiful in early autumn. The leaves just starting to change, the air crisp and cool. I thought about my mother, the only person who had ever made me feel truly loved and wanted. She had been kind, patient, always ready with comfort or encouragement. I wondered what she would think of what I was about to do. I decided she would understand. She had spent her life trying to make my father happy, softening his harshness, trying to turn him into someone capable of love. It had drained her. Maybe in some way she would want me to stop repeating her mistake. When I returned home, I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. The email was still in my drafts folder, complete with attachments and documentation. My phone rang, my father. I answered. "About time," he said, his tone curt. "You've been avoiding my calls all week." "I've been busy." "Too busy for your own father?" he said. I almost laughed at the irony. "What do you need?" "Just checking to make sure the payment's going through tomorrow." "The mortgage is due." There it was. "No, how are you? No, I'm sorry about the video." Just making sure his source of money was still working. "Actually," I said slowly, "I wanted to talk to you about that." "What about it?" "I'm not sending the payment this month." Silence. "Then what?" "I'm not sending the payment." "I'm done." "Done?" What the hell does that mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. I've been paying your mortgage for 4 years, $96,000, and I'm not doing it anymore. His voice turned sharp. "Leah, this isn't funny. That payment needs to go through tomorrow. Then you'll have to make it yourself. You can't just stop." "We had an agreement." "Yes," I said. "An agreement where I paid your bills and you called me worthless behind my back." "That agreement." Another long silence. When he finally spoke, his tone had shifted. Defensive now. "Gerald shouldn't have sent you that video." "But he did. And now I know exactly what you think of me. It was just talk. Family talk." "You're overreacting." "Family talk?" "You called me your cash cow. You said I was worthless. You let everyone laugh about it. Look, I didn't mean it like that. You're twisting things." I felt something cold settle inside me. "I'm not twisting anything. I heard you. I saw your face. And now I'm making a choice. I'm done being your cash cow. Leah, be reasonable. Where am I supposed to get $2,000 by tomorrow?" "I don't know, and I don't care." "That's your problem now. You're being selfish." And there it was, the accusation I'd expected. Selfish, because expecting respect was selfish. Because refusing to be used was selfish. "Goodbye," I said, and hung up. My hands were shaking again, but this time from adrenaline, not pain. I had just crossed a line I could never uncross. The phone rang again. My father, then Kenneth, then my father once more. I turned off the ringer and set it face down on the table. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the draft email, and hovered my cursor over send. Tomorrow morning, I would watch my father's world collapse the same way he had shattered mine. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth. I thought again about that video. My father's smirk. The laughter around the table. The easy cruelty of people who never thought their words could wound. I clicked send. The emails went out at 6 a.m. on Monday. Morning, perfectly timed for when people would be checking their phones over coffee, with just enough time to read everything and let it sink in. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, imagining the reactions. Uncle Gerald opening his inbox and realizing the video he'd sent was now seen by everyone. Aunt Patricia scrolling through receipts, doing the math. My father's church friends watching him mock me, hearing him laugh. At 6:15 a.m., my phone began buzzing. I'd turned the ringer back on, and now I watched as notification after notification poured in. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, the digital echo of an explosion. I made breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, and ate slowly while the phone vibrated across the counter. I wasn't ready to answer. I wanted them to sit with it, to feel the weight of it. At 7 a.m., I finally picked up my phone. I missed calls. 67 text messages, 21 voicemails. I started with the texts, Uncle Gerald, Leah, I'm truly sorry. I had no idea Frank felt that way. Please call me Aunt Patricia. This is humiliating for everyone. Why would you make private family matters public? Kenneth, what's wrong with you? You're tearing this family apart over a joke. My father sent multiple messages, each angrier than the last. How dare you? You ungrateful little, after everything I did for you, you're dead to me. Then came other messages, ones I hadn't expected. My cousin Julia. I had no idea you were paying his mortgage. I'm so sorry, Leah. What he said about you was awful. Mrs. Henderson, my father's neighbor. I always thought you were such a sweet girl. Your father never mentioned any of this. I'm shocked by what I saw in that video. A message from someone at my father's church. Frank has been accepting donations from the congregation for years, saying he was struggling financially. Were you really paying his bills all this time? That last message stopped me cold. Donations from the church, while I'd been sending him $2,000 every month. I played the voicemails. My father's voice filled the room, furious. You think you can humiliate me? Turn everyone against me? You're nothing, Leah. You've always been nothing. Your mother would be ashamed of you. I deleted it and played the next Kenneth, also furious. You've always been jealous of what Dad and I have. You're just trying to ruin everything because you can't stand being alone. Grow up. Then Uncle Gerald's voice came, softer, regretful. Leah, I owe you an apology. I should have spoken up that night. What Frank said was wrong, and I was wrong to laugh. I'm sorry, I sat quietly. An actual apology. It didn't fix anything, but it mattered. I checked social media. Big mistake. My father had posted on Facebook. When your own child betrays you and spreads lies to destroy your reputation, you realize you raised a monster. I gave Leah everything, and this is how she repays me. Praying for guidance. The comments were divided. Half supported him. People saying, family should stay together. Or, kids today have no respect. The other half had clearly seen my email. Frank, I saw the video. Those weren't lies. You called your daughter a cash cow while she paid your bills. How is she the monster? You took money from your church while she supported you. Kenneth had posted too. Some people will do anything for attention. Sad to see my sister destroy our family over a joke. I closed the app. My hands were steady, but my heart raced. This was bigger than I'd expected, the fallout spreading faster than I imagined. Then my work phone rang. My boss, Patricia, Leah, are you okay? You're usually here by now. I looked at the clock. 8:30 a.m. I should have been at the office an hour ago. I'm so sorry. Family emergency. Can I work from home today? Of course. Is everything all right? It will be. Thank you for understanding. The rest of the morning was chaos. Messages, notifications, reactions. My father's reputation was unraveling in real time. People who'd known him for years were questioning everything. Around noon, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Is this Leah? A calm, professional woman's voice. Yes, who's this? My name is Catherine. I'm the treasurer at St. Michael's Church, where your father is a member. I'm calling about some financial discrepancies. My stomach tightened. What kind of discrepancies? For the past 3 years, your father has been receiving monthly aid from our hardship fund. He said he was struggling to keep his home and had no family support. Based on the documents you sent this morning, it seems those claims were false. 3 years of assistance, while I was sending him $2,000 a month. How much? I asked quietly. I can't share exact amounts, but it's significant. The board is meeting today to discuss it. I thought you should know. After she hung up, I sat in silence. It wasn't enough that he used me. He'd deceived his church, too, taking money meant for people who truly needed it. My phone buzzed. A text from Fiona. Holy, I've been watching this all morning. Are you okay? I called her instead. Define okay, I said. Fair point. This is bigger than we thought. He was taking money from his church, Fiona. For 3 years. While I paid his mortgage. You're kidding. I wish I was. The treasurer just called me. Fiona paused. He's worse than we thought. Yeah. How are you feeling? I thought for a moment. Honestly, I'm not sure. Part of me feels relieved that people finally see the truth. But part of me feels guilty, like maybe I went too far. Leah, no. You didn't go too far. You told the truth. What's happening now is the result of his choices, not yours. She was right. But that didn't make it easier to watch. By evening, things had escalated further. My father's post had been shared dozens of times, but so had the screenshots I'd sent. People argued in the comments, some defending him, others exposing the truth. The church made an announcement during their evening service about the misuse of funds. They didn't name him, but everyone knew. Kenneth called me 17 times. I didn't pick up any of them. Around 9 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Kenneth, his face flushed with anger. I didn't open it. Leah, I know you're in there, he shouted. Open the door. We need to talk. Go away, Kenneth. You can't avoid me forever. You've ruined everything. Dad might lose the house because of you. He might lose the house because he can't pay his own mortgage, I replied. That's not my problem. You're selfish. After everything Dad did for us. What did he do, Kenneth? Tell me. Besides providing the bare minimum while making me feel worthless? There was silence. Then he said quietly, You don't get it. You never did. Dad tried his best after Mom died. His best? His best was calling me a burden, using me for money and laughing about it with the family. It was just talk. Then why are you so upset that everyone heard it? Another pause. Then the sound of him kicking my door. This isn't over, Leah. I waited until I heard his footsteps fade before exhaling. My hands were trembling. I'd never seen Kenneth this angry or unstable before. I called building security to report the incident. They promised to monitor the area and remove Kenneth if he came back. That night, sleep escaped me. My mind kept replaying the events, the calls, the messages, Kenneth at my door. I wanted the truth to be known, and it was. But the truth had consequences, and now everyone was suffering for it. The next morning, something unexpected happened. My phone rang at 7 a.m., an unknown number. It was a lawyer. Ms. Henderson, this is Robert Barnes. I represent your father, Frank Henderson. He's asked me to contact you regarding the defamatory materials you distributed yesterday. I sat up, instantly alert. Defamatory materials? Yes, the video and financial records you sent to multiple individuals. Your father considers this harassment and defamation. He's prepared to take legal action unless you issue a public retraction and apology. I almost laughed. Everything I shared was true. I have proof for every payment. The video came from my uncle, those were my father's own words. Regardless of the source, you had no right to make private family matters public. You've damaged your father's reputation and caused emotional distress. His reputation? My voice rose. What about my emotional distress? What about the years he used me for money while mocking me behind my back? The lawyer remained composed. I understand you're upset, but that doesn't justify a campaign of harassment. Your father is willing to be reasonable. Issue an apology, and we can move on. Tell my father that if he wants to sue me, go ahead. Everything I said was true, and I have evidence. I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. Miss Henderson, that's your choice. Goodbye. I hung up, heart pounding. A lawsuit, he was really threatening to sue me for exposing him. The nerve of it almost impressed me. I called Fiona immediately. He's got a lawyer, I said. What? Already? I explained everything. She was silent for a moment, then said, Don't panic. He's bluffing. If this goes to court, everything becomes public. The church fraud, the mortgage payments, all of it. He's just trying to intimidate you. Well, it's working. Leah, listen. You should get your own lawyer just to be safe. Want me to ask around? Yeah, please. After we hung up, I forced myself to get ready for work. I'd taken yesterday off, but I couldn't hide forever. Responsibilities waited, and I couldn't let my father's mess take over my life. The office felt tense. Everyone seemed to know something. Portland wasn't big, and gossip spread quickly. During lunch, my coworker Jennifer approached me, her face kind. Hey, I just wanted to say, if you need anything, I'm here. I saw some of what's happening online. Thanks, I said, unsure what else to say. For what it's worth, I think you are brave. My dad was the same, always taking, never giving. I wish I'd stood up to him like you did. Her words caught me off guard. I'd always thought she came from a perfect family. Thank you. That really means a lot. The rest of the day blurred by. Work, anxiety, constant phone checks. More messages arrived, some supportive, others hostile. My Aunt Patricia emailed a long message accusing me of destroying the family, of being cruel. Your father made a mistake, she wrote, but you've blown it out of proportion. Family forgives family. That's what love means. I deleted it without replying. At 4 p.m., the church treasurer, Catherine, called. Leah, I wanted to update you. The board met last night and decided to demand repayment from your father for funds he received under false pretenses. We're also filing a formal complaint with headquarters. I see. I want you to know none of this is your fault. You only revealed the truth. What your father did, lying to gain aid, is on him. Thank you for saying that. There's more. Some church members want to start a fund to repay you for the mortgage payments you made. They feel awful that you supported your father while he was taking from the church. I was stunned. That's very kind, but I don't expect anything. It's not about expectation. It's about fairness. We'll be in touch. After she hung up, I sat in silence, overwhelmed. Strangers were offering help and seeing my worth more clearly than my own family ever had. That evening, I met the lawyer Fiona recommended, Grace. She was in her 50s. Sharp-eyed, straightforward. I've reviewed your documents, she said, spreading them across her desk. Your father doesn't have a case. Everything you shared was factual and verifiable. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, so I don't need to worry about being sued. Oh, he might try, but he won't win. And if he files anyway, we can countersue for frivolous litigation. We can also subpoena records from his church to show his fraud. Would that help my case? It would establish a pattern of deception and could lead to criminal charges for charity fraud. I sat quietly, taking that in. My father could actually face criminal consequences. What do you want to do? Grace asked. I just want him to stop. I don't want to sue. But if he comes after me, I'll be ready. Fair enough. I'll draft a response making it clear that we're prepared to defend and countersue if needed. That should make him reconsider. As I left her office, a strange calm settled over me. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting, I was taking control. I was setting boundaries, refusing to be intimidated. My phone rang again. It was Uncle Gerald. Hello, Leah. Do you have a moment? I guess. I've been thinking about that night, the dinner, the video. I keep replaying it and I'm ashamed. Not just of Frank, but of myself. I should have said something. I should have defended you. Why didn't you? He let out a deep sigh. Honestly? Because it's easier to agree with Frank than to oppose him. He's always been the dominant one in the family, and disagreeing with him makes you a target. But that's just cowardice. You deserved better. Yes, I did. I called because I wanted you to know. I've spoken with Patricia and a few others. Not everyone supports what Frank did. Some of us are starting to understand how unfairly you've been treated all these years. It took a video and $96,000 in receipts for you to see that? You're right. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't make things right, but I want you to know I'm here if you need support. And if this goes to court, I'm ready to testify for you. My anger softened. Thank you. That means a lot. After we hung up, exhaustion hit me. It had been less than 2 days since I sent those emails, yet my entire world felt turned upside down. But beneath the fatigue, something else stirred. A quiet strength. All my life, I'd feared my father's anger. I'd feared letting him down, losing the little approval he ever offered. But now, with nothing left to lose, I felt free. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I looked through old photo albums. Pictures from before my mother died. There I was, 6 years old, smiling with missing front teeth. My mother's arms wrapped around me, her warmth almost alive through the photo. And there was my father, young, smiling, holding me on his shoulders at the park. When had that changed? When did he stop seeing me as his child and start seeing me as a burden? Maybe it didn't matter anymore. The reason wasn't as important as the reality. What he'd done, what he'd said, and what I was finally doing about it. I closed the album and went to bed, finally feeling like sleep might come. Wednesday morning brought the news I'd both expected and dreaded. Kenneth showed up at my workplace. I was in the middle of a logistics meeting when Jennifer knocked on the conference room door. "Leah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but someone's here to see you. He says he's your brother." My stomach tightened. "Tell him I'm busy," I tried. "He's refusing to leave, and he's getting loud." I excused myself and went to the front office. Kenneth stood there, red-faced and tense. 2 security guards hovered nearby, ready to step in. "Kenneth, you need to leave," I said evenly. "Not until we talk." "You've done enough damage. It's time to fix this." "There's nothing to fix." I told the truth, that's all. "The truth?" His voice rose. "You humiliated our father. You ruined his reputation. The church expelled him after 20 years. Do you even realize that? That's the result of his actions, not mine. He's talking about suicide. Is that what you wanted?" The word struck like a blow. Suicide. I felt my face drain of color. One of the guards stepped forward. "Sir, I need you to lower your voice or leave." Kenneth ignored him. "He called me last night crying, said he has nothing left to live for." "That's on you, Leah. If he does something, it's your fault." My voice trembled, but I spoke firmly. "Kenneth, if Dad is truly suicidal, he needs professional help. That's not something I can fix, and it's not something you should use to manipulate me. Everything was fine until you decided to play the victim. Everything was not fine. I was paying for a house I'd never own while he called me worthless behind my back." "That's not fine." The guard stepped closer. "Sir, last warning, leave now or we'll call the police." Kenneth pointed at me, his hand shaking. "You'll regret this. When this family collapses, remember, you did this. You destroyed everything." He turned and stormed out. I stood frozen, trembling. My coworkers had seen it all. My boss emerged, concern clear on her face. "Leah, are you okay? Do you want to take the rest of the day off?" "No," I said, surprised at the steadiness in my voice. "I'm fine. I'd like to get back to work, but I wasn't fine." Kenneth's words about suicide echoed in my mind for the rest of the day. Was my father truly in danger, or was it just another attempt to guilt me into silence? At lunch, I called Grace, my lawyer. "He's escalating," I said after explaining what happened. "My brother came to my workplace, made a scene, and said my father is suicidal." "That's serious," Grace replied. "Have you considered getting a restraining order? It could create a legal boundary. If he crosses it, there'll be consequences. It might also show your father and his lawyer that you're genuinely committed to protecting yourself." "All right," I said. "Let's do it," she nodded. "I'll start the paperwork. Meanwhile, document everything. Every call, message, threat, and attempt to manipulate you." After work, I drove home feeling completely drained. My apartment had always been my safe place, but now it felt exposed. Kenneth knew where I lived. My father did too. Anyone in my family could appear without warning. I was even thinking about finding a new place when my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but something told me to answer. "Leah?" A woman's voice, older, familiar somehow. "Yes." "This is Margaret. Margaret Simmons. I was your mother's best friend." I remembered her vaguely. She'd been around often when I was little, before my mother passed away. "Hi, Margaret. I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from your Uncle Gerald. I've been following what's happening and needed to reach out." "Oh, your mother would be so proud of you." Her words caught me off guard. "Proud of me? Why?" "She'd be proud that you stood up for yourself, that you refused to be treated the way Frank treated her." I sank down on the couch. "What do you mean?" Margaret sighed. "Your mother was an amazing woman, but Frank made her life difficult. He was controlling, dismissive, always making her feel small. She stayed for you kids, believing that family should stick together no matter what. But it broke her. Living with someone who constantly undermined her took its toll." "I didn't know," I whispered. "You were too young," she said softly. "She tried to protect you." "But Leah, there's something else. A few weeks before she died, she told me that if anything ever happened to her, I should keep an eye on you. She worried Frank would treat you the same way. She said you were so much like her, Kind, giving, always trying to please people who couldn't be pleased. Tears streamed down my face. She said that? She did, Margaret replied. And she made me promise that if you ever needed help, I'd be there. I'm sorry I wasn't. I should have stayed in touch. But I'm here now. And I want you to know, exposing the truth took real courage. Your mother didn't have that chance, and it cost her. But you do. We talked for nearly an hour. Margaret shared stories about my mother I'd never heard, pieces that filled gaps in my memories. By the time we ended the call, I felt both heartbroken and strengthened. Sad for my mother and all she endured, but stronger knowing I was breaking a pattern, refusing to be another woman silenced by my father's cruelty. That night, an email arrived from the church. Their investigation had confirmed that my father had fraudulently taken about $48,000 over 3 years. They demanded full repayment and referred the case to local authorities for possible criminal charges. $48,000. Added to the $96,000 I'd already paid, meant my father had received nearly $150,000 while pretending to be destitute. I forwarded the email to Grace, Uncle Gerald, and everyone who'd seen my first message. If Kenneth wanted to accuse me of tearing the family apart, so be it. At least everyone now knew exactly what they were defending. Replies came quickly, support from relatives I barely knew, and anger from those still loyal to my father. The family was splitting along lines I hadn't realized existed. But one message stood out. From my cousin Julia, Patricia's daughter. Leah, can we meet? There's something I need to tell you about your dad. Something that happened years ago. I stared at the message. Something that happened years ago? What could possibly be left to uncover? I typed back when and where. Her reply came instantly. Tomorrow, coffee shop on 3rd Street, 10 a.m., I agreed, then leaned back, wondering what new nightmare I was about to face. My father's actions had already been awful. What else could there be? As I got ready for bed, my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. You've made a big mistake. This isn't over, a chill ran through me. Was it from my father? Kenneth, someone else? I forwarded it to Grace and the police, adding it to my growing record of harassment. Then I turned off my phone and lay in the dark, listening to every sound, wondering when the next blow would come. Sleep came late, but when it did, I dreamed of my mother, standing in a field of flowers, smiling, arms open. Come on, she said. You're almost through. Just a little further. I woke up crying, but for the first time in days, they weren't tears of grief alone. There was relief, too. Relief that I'd finally stopped being my father's victim. Whatever came next, I would face it standing tall. I reached the coffee shop 15 minutes early, too anxious to stay home. I ordered a latte I didn't really want and took a corner seat with a clear view of the door. My mind raced with what Julia might say. She arrived right at 10 a.m., looking nervous. Her eyes scanned the room before settling on me. She approached, clutching her purse tightly. Thanks for meeting me, she said as she sat down. What's this about, Julia? She took a deep breath. I need to tell you something that happened when I was 16. It involves your dad. My chest tightened. Okay. That summer, I stayed with your family for 2 weeks while my parents were on a cruise. You were away at a summer program, so it was just me, your dad, and Kenneth. She paused, twisting her hands. Your dad made me uncomfortable. He'd make comments about my body, about how I looked in my swimsuit. One night, he came into the guest room while I was asleep. He sat on the bed, put his hand on my leg, and started moving it up. My stomach turned. Julia, I screamed. Kenneth came running and your dad left. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. When I told my mom, she confronted him, but he denied everything, said I'd dreamed it. My mom believed him, or maybe she just wanted to. Either way, she told me to stay quiet, said it would destroy the family. I'm so sorry, I said. I had no idea. How could you? She replied softly. You weren't there. But when I saw that video, him yelling at you, calling you worthless, I realized I'd been protecting him all these years by staying silent. I can't do that anymore. If this goes to court, if his lawyer tries to make him look like a victim, I'll testify about what he did. I reached across the table and took her hand. Thank you. That took courage. My mom's furious, Julia said. She thinks I'm betraying the family, making things up to hurt your dad. But I'm not lying, and I'm done pretending. After she left, I stayed in the coffee shop for another hour, processing what she'd told me. My father wasn't just manipulative or emotionally abusive. He was predatory. The man I'd spent my life trying to please had done that to a 16-year-old girl. I called Grace immediately. "We need to meet," I said. "There's been a development." That afternoon, I sat in Grace's office and told her everything Julia had shared. Grace's expression darkened as I finished speaking. "This changes things," she said. "If your father takes legal action against you and Julia testifies about his behavior, it will completely destroy his credibility. Depending on the statute of limitations, he could even face criminal charges for what he did to her. Julia's willing to testify," she added. "Good. I'll contact her and get a formal statement. Meanwhile, I'll send a letter to your father's attorney outlining what we know. Sometimes the threat of exposure is enough to make people reconsider." I left Grace's office feeling both justified and unsettled. Every truth I uncovered revealed something worse. My father wasn't just neglectful, he was dangerous. That evening, Uncle Gerald called. "Leah, we need to talk about Frank." "What about him?" "He's in bad shape. Drinking heavily, barely leaving the house. I checked on him today. The place is a mess. He's talking about foreclosure and having nothing left. He chose not to pay his mortgage, Gerald." "That's not my problem. I know. I'm not asking for money, but he's my brother. Despite everything, I'm worried about him. So what do you want from me?" "I just want you to know that some of us understand why you did what you did. Patricia doesn't. Kenneth doesn't. But I do. Whatever happens next, you have support in this family." His words meant more than I expected. "Thank you. There's something else," he continued. "Frank's got about 3 weeks before foreclosure starts. The church wants its money back. His lawyer dropped him after learning about the fraud. He's alone now, and it's his own fault." 3 weeks, I repeated. "Yeah. I don't know what he'll do." I tried to help, but he yelled and kicked me out. After the call, I sat quietly. 3 weeks until my father lost the house he'd lived in for 30 years, the home my mother had loved, where she'd planted flowers and hung family pictures. I'd been paying for that house while he mocked me. A part of me felt guilty, but a larger part felt nothing. He had made his choices. Now he'd live with them. The next morning, a certified letter arrived. It was from my father, handwritten and shaky. "Leah, I'm asking for your forgiveness. I know I've hurt you and said terrible things. Please help me save the house. I promise things will change. I'll make it up to you. I'm your father." I read it twice, searching for sincerity or acknowledgement of the years of pain. I found only desperation. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done, only for being exposed. I wrote back briefly, "I forgive you for my own peace, not because you deserve it." Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation, and it doesn't mean rescuing you from the consequences of your actions. You called me worthless, used me, and committed fraud. Those were your choices. These are your consequences. Goodbye. I mailed it that afternoon and felt a weight lift. I had spent years chasing his approval and affection. Now I was done seeking anything from him. That weekend, Fiona drove up from Eugene. We hiked through Forest Park, the trails damp from recent rain, the air crisp and fresh. "How are you really doing?" she asked. "Honestly, I feel free. Tired but free. No regrets about exposing him?" "No. Maybe some about the years I wasted trying to earn his love." "You can't regret being kind, Leah. That's who you are. It's not your fault he couldn't appreciate it." We walked in quiet agreement. She was right. Being kind wasn't a mistake. The mistake was others taking advantage of it. Monday brought the confrontation I'd expected. Grace called while I was at work. "Your father's attorney reached out, his new one. They're threatening to sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress and defamation. They claim you tried to destroy his reputation and career. When's the court date?" "There isn't one yet. It's just pressure. They want you to retract your statements and pay damages." "How much?" $50,000 and a public apology. I almost laughed. 50,000? After he took $96,000 from me and $48,000 from the church? I know, it's absurd. I've drafted our response. We're not settling. If they take it to court, we'll countersue for the mortgage payments you made, plus interest and emotional damages. We'll also subpoena Julia and anyone else willing to testify. By the end, he'll regret filing. Do it. You're sure? It could get ugly. I'm sure. I'm done being afraid of him. Grace sent the response that afternoon. The next day, I got a voicemail from my father. His voice was slurred. "You think you're smart? You think you've won? You'll regret this, Leah. You'll see what happens when you turn your back on family. Everything you've done will come back to you. I saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Grace and the police. It went into the growing file of threats and harassment. That week, the local news picked up the story. Someone had leaked details about the church fraud. They didn't name my father, but mentioned a longtime church member who'd defrauded the hardship fund while receiving help from his daughter. It didn't take long for people to connect the dots. His social media exploded. Supporters turned against him. Former friends shared stories, money he'd borrowed and never repaid, inappropriate comments, years of deceit. A clear picture emerged of a man who had manipulated others for decades. Kenneth tried to defend him online. My sister is vindictive and cruel. She's lying to destroy our father because she's bitter about her failures. But it was too late. The truth was undeniable, and his attempts only made him look desperate. By Thursday, I received an email from the mortgage company. Foreclosure had officially begun. The first auction was 6 weeks away. If he couldn't pay the full amount in fees, the house would be sold. I felt a faint sadness, not regret, but sorrow for what could have been. That house had been my mother's. She'd loved it, and now it was gone. Another loss caused by my father's actions. That evening, Aunt Patricia called. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. Leah. Her tone was icy. We need to talk about what you've done to this family. What I've done? I only told the truth. You've ruined your father's life. He's losing his house because of you. He's losing it because he can't pay the mortgage. That's not on me. You were helping with it until you stopped. Yes, after I found out he called me worthless while using my money. After learning he stole from his church. After hearing what he did to Julia, Patricia was silent for a moment. Julia's lying about that. Is she? Or do you just refuse to believe your brother could do something so awful? Frank would never. He did, Patricia. And you knew. You knew back then and still chose to protect him instead of your own daughter. How do you live with that? You have no right to judge me. I'm not judging, I'm stating facts. You chose your brother over your child. That's on you, she hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling nothing. No anger, no relief. Just emptiness where my family used to be. The next day, Julia called. Did my mom contact you? She did. She's still defending him, I know. She said if I testify, I'm no longer welcome in her house. My own mother's picking him over me. I'm sorry, Julia. Don't be. It's actually clear now. I know where I stand. And Leah, I'm going to testify even if it means losing her. This ends now. Her courage strengthened me. We weren't just standing up for ourselves anymore. We were standing up for everyone my father had hurt, the people he'd manipulated, belittled and drained of everything they had. Saturday afternoon, while grocery shopping, I ran straight into my father. He was in the liquor aisle. Cart full of beer and cheap whiskey. He looked awful, unshaven, hollow-eyed, his clothes wrinkled and dirty. Leah. His voice was rough. I nodded and kept walking. We need to talk. No, we don't. Please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stopped. What? I need your help. I know I messed up. I said things I shouldn't have, but I'm still your father. You can't just let me lose everything. You did this to yourself. The church wants money I don't have. The bank's foreclosing. Kenneth won't help me. He says I embarrassed him. I've got no one. You had me for 4 years, and you threw it away. I made a mistake. No, Dad, a mistake is unintentional. What you did was deliberate. You used me, mocked me, and stole from people who trusted you. Those were choices. His face twisted with anger. After everything I did for you, this is how you repay me? You gave me food and shelter, the bare minimum required by law. You never loved or respected me. You made me feel worthless and then profited from my kindness. You're just like your mother. Weak, always playing the victim. The words didn't hurt anymore. No. I'm not like Mom. She stayed and let you break her. I'm leaving. I walked away. He shouted after me, drawing stares from other shoppers. This is your fault. Everything that happens is on you, Leah. All your fault. I kept walking, out of the store, into the parking lot, into my car. My hands trembled as I started the engine, not from fear but from relief. I'd stood my ground. I'd said what needed saying, and walked away. That night, I got a Facebook message from a stranger. I went to school with your dad. He was a bully then, too. I'm glad someone finally stood up to him. You're brave. More messages followed. Stories from others he'd hurt or manipulated. A clearer picture emerged of a man who had always been this way, who'd never faced consequences. Until now. The court date was set for 3 weeks later. Meanwhile, my father's life kept unraveling. The foreclosure advanced, the church filed a formal complaint, and a detective contacted me about the payments I'd made. We're building a case for charity fraud, he explained. Your father misrepresented his finances to get funds he wasn't entitled to. That's a felony. What happens if he's convicted? Depending on the amount and his record, he could get jail time, or probation with restitution. Jail time. My father might actually go to prison. Part of me thought he deserved it. Another part felt uneasy. Even after everything, Fiona later asked what Grace once had. Any regrets? No, I said honestly. He made his choices. I just made sure people knew the truth. A week before the court date, I got a letter from Kenneth. Long, bitter, full of accusations. He said I'd destroyed the family, that I was cruel and vindictive, that I should be ashamed. But one line stood out. Dad's not going to make it through this. I hope you can live with that. I called him for the first time since this began. What did you mean by that? Exactly what I said. He's drinking himself to death, talking about ending it. This is what you wanted, isn't it? If he's truly suicidal, he needs professional help. But I'm not responsible for his decisions. You pushed him to this. No, I pushed back against abuse. There's a difference, and you? You sat there laughing when he called me worthless. You've spent your life tearing me down to feel superior. Don't pretend you're worried about him. You're just upset your free ride's ending. Free ride? What are you talking about? Did you think I didn't know? Dad told me he helped with your down payment and kept sending you money. Where do you think that came from, Kenneth? While I was paying his mortgage, he was giving you my money. Silence. You didn't know? I asked. He never told you, did he? I didn't ask him to. It doesn't matter. You still benefited. You mocked me while living off my help. You're as guilty as he is. I hung up before he could respond. The court date arrived. I dressed neatly, professionally. Grace met me outside, with Julia by her side in case her testimony was needed. Your father's lawyer called, Grace said. They want to settle. What terms? They'll drop the suit completely. You agree not to pursue repayment. Everyone walks away. And the fraud charges? Those are criminal. They continue regardless. I thought for a long moment. I could end this here, move on, or press forward, making sure every fact stayed in public record. What do you recommend? Honestly, take the settlement. You've already won. He's losing the house, facing charges, and his reputation's gone. Continuing only costs you more time and money. I looked at Julia. What do you think? Do what's right for you, she said. But Leah, you've already exposed him. People know the truth. Maybe it's time to let the system handle the rest. I nodded slowly. Okay, tell them we accept. The hearing was brief. Both sides confirmed the settlement, and the judge dismissed the case. My father sat at the defense table, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He never looked my way once. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. The case had gained enough local attention to draw media interest. Grace had prepared me for this moment. Miss Henderson, how do you feel about today's outcome? A reporter asked, holding out a microphone. I'm relieved it's over, I said. I never wanted to sue my father or take this to court. I just wanted the truth to be known. That's all I ever wanted. Your father is facing criminal charges for charity fraud. Do you think the church's case is justified? I believe the church has every right to seek repayment for money obtained dishonestly. And I also believe that anyone asking for help should truly be in need of it. What message do you have for others in similar situations? I paused, then said, family isn't only about blood. It's about respect, love, and support. And if you're not getting those, it's okay to walk away. You don't owe anyone your loyalty just because you're related. You deserve better than being used. The interview lasted barely 5 minutes, but that evening, the clip aired on local news. My phone flooded with messages, some kind, others angry. I'd stopped caring about the angry ones. I had spoken my truth. People could take it or leave it. 2 weeks later, the house was sold at auction. Uncle Gerald called to let me know. It sold for more than the mortgage balance. Frank would receive about $30,000 after fees and payoffs. That's something, I said. He's moving to a trailer park on the edge of town. Just 1 bedroom, pretty worn down. It's all he can afford. A wave of sadness hit me, but I pushed it aside. "How's he doing?" I asked. "Still drinking, still angry, still blaming you for everything." "I doubt that'll ever change." "Probably not," I said quietly. The church's case continued. My father eventually pled guilty to a lesser charge. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation and ordered to repay the full $48,000. It would take him years, maybe the rest of his life. Kenneth stopped reaching out completely. Patricia sent one last email. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family." I deleted it without replying, but some connections grew stronger. Julia and I became close, sharing our experiences. Uncle Gerald checked in often, trying to make up for years of silence. Even a few of my father's old friends contacted me to apologize for believing his version of the story. 3 months after everything fell apart, I was offered a promotion, better pay, more responsibilities, a corner office with a view. I accepted without hesitation. Fiona came to celebrate. We went to a nice restaurant, ordered wine, and allowed ourselves to enjoy the moment. "To new beginnings," she toasted. "To new beginnings," I echoed. As we ate, I reflected on everything that had happened, the pain, the betrayal, the exposure, the aftermath. It had been harsh, but I'd survived. More than that, I'd grown stronger, more certain of who I was and what I deserved. 6 months later, I saw my father one final time. It was at the grocery store. He looked older, worn down. He saw me but didn't approach. Instead, he turned and walked away quickly, shoulders slumped, eyes lowered. I watched him go and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction. Just emptiness. He had become a stranger, someone I used to know. That evening, I opened the box of old photos I'd looked through months earlier, pictures of my mother, of the family we once were. I spent a long time studying them, quietly saying goodbye to the past I'd carried for too long. Then I put the box away and opened my laptop. I'd been thinking of starting a blog, to share my story and maybe help others facing toxic family dynamics. I opened a blank page and began typing. "My name is Leah, and I'm here to tell you it's okay to walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family." My father never recovered from the scandal. His reputation was ruined permanently. The friends he once had stopped talking to him. His church of 20 years banned him from attending. During his probation, he worked low-paying jobs to repay restitution, living in a decaying trailer, spending what little he had on alcohol. Kenneth, furious after losing financial support, eventually cut ties as well. The golden son had finally seen the truth about the man he once defended. 3 years later, my father died. Liver failure from years of drinking. I didn't attend the funeral. I'd already said my goodbye. As for me, I built a new life, one entirely my own. I moved into a better apartment with mountain views. I traveled to places I'd only dreamed of. I invested in myself, therapy, hobbies, and friendships that were mutual and healthy. That blog grew beyond anything I imagined, connecting me with thousands of people who'd endured similar family trauma. Looking back on my journey, I don't feel guilt or regret. I feel freedom. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop letting others diminish you. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away from those who will never see your worth. I told the truth, and the truth set me free.